What's up, man?
It's all good this end. How are you?
Good. How are you? Where are you?
We're in Perth, Western Australia. The place.
Perth. Okay. Every interview I do, I'm like, Perth, get out and buy tickets. I had a great time when I was there doing that acoustic show, man. That was really that was one of the best gigs I did.
That was one of the best gigs I've seen. So
Oh, thanks. Thanks.
that's more enough reason to get out and buy the tickets for the West Australian leg of the show, which is
Yeah, we got to get it out. Listen, look, we're doing 5 shows in Australia and Perth. The ticket sales are not what we want them to be, and I'm surprised by it because nobody ever goes to Perth supposedly. So we're trying to encourage all the rock fans in Perth to come out and see us.
yeah. Well, they're going to miss a fantastic gig if they don't. We're certainly trying to get the news out. We'll get it out on the radio for you as well, but. We're getting
Yeah.
close, so let's hope it all comes together. We're notoriously awful though for going out and buying tickets to shows, and it's such a shame because
I see so many comments on our social media about please come to Perth, please come to Perth. So I'm coming.
and we'll
It's
be
uh
there.
it's
Let's
gonna be fun.
yeah, we got a good crowd in for you acoustic last time, so let's hope we can.
Well, it's all original members, and we play all the hits and some of the new stuff. So I mean, it's rare to see an all original member version of the band.
It is, isn't it? Because even when you were back over in 2007, I think Paul was the only one that wasn't there.
Paul was not there. It was John Roth, and now we got them both.
Yeah, which is so cool. I don't think I've seen Winger with all the original members as well, so that will be another reason to go. Winger are one of those bands that I've always loved, but I think I love your new stuff when you came back just as much as the old stuff. It's a
Wow.
rarity these days.
Knock on wood. Listen, that's my big thing is writing. I put everything I got into that. Um, especially on this last Winger 7 record, I felt like probably going to be our last. And I wanted to go back to the first record and incorporate what I remember doing on the first record with all the new approach from the subsequent records. Bring back the old logo, make sure every guy in the band, every original member was playing on it, and really kind of make a tribute to the band through my efforts on that album.
Yeah, it's a fantastic album, one of the best I've heard
Thank
in
you.
years. So let's hope you're going to be playing a couple of tracks at least off there for us, hopefully.
Yeah, we will be. We do.
Oh, fantastic. One of the things I've always wanted to ask you, and we've spoken a few times, I never got round to, was um, a lot of people know that you're originally a classically trained musician, and that now obviously you've had your ballets and your symphony, which we'll plug as well at the end because I know that you've got a premiere coming up
Yeah,
in
thank you.
May, which will be great. Everyone should get down and see that as well. But did that classical background mean that you approached songwriting any differently, even in the early days?
Man, the thing is that it's been out there in the press a lot that I had a classical background. It's not actually true. I took a little Yamaha piano class when I was 6, but after that, all bets were off, man. I grew up in a band with my brothers, learning Black Sabbath off the records by ear, and I did study classical guitar when I was about 16 for a few years. I was one of those like practice 5 hours a day and stuff. But for the most part, I was self-taught up until I was about 35. And when I was 5, I started studying with um, several different composition teachers and really understanding how to what was really going on in classical literature. I'd listened a lot, you know, and I always wished I was in that whole world, but um, I was always an outsider from that world, and so which actually turned out to be great for me because now I'm an outsider that's gotten in there on their own terms. I spent 15 years studying as much as I did to be able to speak in their language on their terms. So it's been great. But up until then, man, I was like high school dropout,
Yeah.
playing Grand Funk and Led Zeppelin, just like everyone else, man.
Is there a barrier to rock musicians getting into, let's say, other genres? I always feel there is. It's almost like you've got to earn that extra respect and go that extra mile because of the fact that, hey, rock music's not as cool or as clever as say jazz or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I would say that, well, going into an orchestra, if you don't know your shit, they you can easily get laughed out of the room. Because I mean that's a whole different world of precision, and you really have to have chops to get in an orchestra. I mean, you can't just be a jammer, you know. You really got to know a lot of stuff. Now, having said that, the orchestra world is filled with musicians who couldn't jam their way out of a paper bag. They have to read the music, and whatever's on the music is what you're going to hear. So it's a completely different mindset, and one's not better than the other. It's just totally different.
Yeah, yeah,
And so, listen, I've had many of classical performances where I'm like in a cold sweat looking at my score going, you know, trying to catch up to having to read, something like that. I have, I actually have my new score right here, actually.
oh wow.
Very happy about that. But, I went from, uh, you know, jamming Led Zeppelin to this. So I couldn't read an orchestral score until I was, I don't know, really well until I was about 40.
Yeah. So other nerves the same? I imagine it is a bit different as well, like
Is
playing
what the same?
the nerves, like for the premiere in May. Is
Well, what's great about it is I don't have to play. So it's really just you guys play it. But it's very nerve-wracking to be in a rehearsal hoping that you got the score right.
Hmm. Well, that's yeah,
That's huge because you're putting um, 16 parts of music in front of of 60 people.
yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, it's love. I've always loved sort of classical music, but I've always felt. I mean, Tchaikovsky, I think, is probably my favorite go-to composer.
Melody Melodies from Hell, man. That guy's a
Ah,
great
fantastic.
melody maker ever.
Yeah. But I always feel a bit of a fraud. I think you expect that you've got to have some sort of wonderful knowledge of compositions and orchestral maneuvers and such like to listen to stuff like that. But Winger's always been one of my favorites. I'm so glad you're coming over. Those first three albums, I think for me, I can never pick. And for me, the sign of a good band is when you can never pick your favorite songs and you never pick your favorite album. And for
No,
me,
that's
those
nice.
first three were classic, but I'd probably rate seven above any of those first albums.
Well, that's amazing,
And
man. That thank you.
it I mean you're sort of distanced from I guess how you felt as a kid when you listened to that sort of music, but as compositions and with the hooks and the melodies and everything, it's got it all. It's
I
just
appreciate that. I listen, I'm no bullshit. I mean, I really tried,
yeah,
to do that. I put a lot of effort in that. I didn't want there to be any throwaway cuts. I wanted it all lean and mean, and every note had to mean something. Every lyric had to mean something. Nothing throwawayable, no disposable music. It all had to be any individual song on that record. I want it to be the quality of any single.
yeah.
And
And you got there.
I was really happy with it. It was a beast. I mean, it took a long time, and we got off to kind of a rough start, honestly, where we weren't really like nailing it at the beginning. But that's also because COVID, and that COVID knocked us off our game somewhat. And once we got our mojo back, then it was all fine. But took a took a couple years, 2.5 years to make that, which is a long time for us.
It's incredible. While we're setting a few things straight, such as your classically trained background, let's another question I've always wanted to ask you, and we've spoken a few times now, and I can get to the ones I really want to ask now, is about Bob Dylan and how it came to be.
Nothing there. That's a total nothing burger, man. What happened was Bob did a movie with Fiona
Yeah,
Flanagan called
yeah,
Hearts of Fire, and Bo Hill produced the soundtrack, and I was kind of Bo's assistant at the time, and I did a lot of recording on the songs that were going on that movie. And one of the songs on that movie did not make it to the movie, but Bob Dylan liked it and put it on his album, and I was playing bass on that.
yeah. I mean,
So
you were on that album with some absolute legends as well. I mean, I think Ronnie Wood's also credited with bass as well in there as well. But you've got
you know what? I don't even know what album it is. What album is it?
I know the song, it's Had a Dream About You, Baby, but I can't even remember the name of the album either. Um, but yeah, Bob Weir, Mick Taylor, Mark Knopfler, Jerry Garcia, and
They're all on that track.
they're all on that album.
Um,
So some of them are on that track, but it's crazy. Um, so it's funny, isn't it, how things come together? So your first meeting with Reb would have been when he was playing with Fiona, and you played with Fiona as well.
well, what happened was, yeah, Reb got the call to do some work on the Fiona album. If you really want to set the record straight and give credit where credit's due, a guitar player named Bobby Massano was the guy who kind
Oh,
of
yeah,
who knew Reb and brought him into the fold. And then Reb played for Bo Hill. Bo was like, "Oh my God, this guy's amazing." Had him play a bunch of stuff, and then another very famous, way more successful producer than Bo Hill, named Arif Mardin, heard Reb from the other room and was like, "Who the hell is that?" And he brought him into play on Shaka Khan and the Bee Gees, and
yeah, yeah,
kind of that's how that went down. But Reb and I met each other in the hallway at Atlantic Studio in 1982, I think.
yeah. And it's one of those songwriting partnerships as well, that I think it's a bit underappreciated by a lot of
I
people.
appreciate that. Thanks for saying that.
I mean, you've got a chemistry there, definitely.
I was just going to say the chemistry is really, really exceptional, um, and it's fun. We actually have a lot of fun, man. Uh, and we can always write, And what's great about it is that his deficiencies are my attributes, and my deficiencies are his attributes. And so it's always worked really well. We know our place. I know my place with him. He knows his place with me. And and I would say that, Reb Beach is an unsung hero in the riff department. I think that guy
No,
writes,
absolutely. Yeah.
it, you know, he's on the level of the greatest guitar players when it comes to writing riffs,
Yeah.
you know.
So we've got Bobby Massano to thank. I think I saw him play at Rocklahoma probably back in about 2009 with his own band. He was very good. Yeah,
He's a
really.
great guitar player. Yeah, he's really good.
Yeah. So that brings us to, I guess, the set list. It's obviously got to have the hits and stuff like that in there. You always
Yeah,
have fun with the song 17, for example. I think,
yeah.
I think
It's funny.
we aged that a bit. I think I've seen you do it as 37 or whatever it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
years
yeah.
ago and stuff like that. So
Well,
obviously,
the funny thing about 17 is I was just following Paul McCartney. I've said this in many interviews, I saw her standing there. The first line is, well, she was just 17. I mean, it's right there. So if anybody's got any problem with it, ask Paul McCartney because I was following him. And, of Christine 16, all those kind of songs. I mean, that was kind of the thing back then. So I actually got the idea for 17, the title idea, a blatant ripoff from Kingdom Come. They had a song on there called 17. We were writing, I was out of ideas, and we had all these records that we were listening. Well, let's see what they do. Let's see what they do. Let's see what they do. Here's the Kingdom Come album. Oh, there's a song called 17. That's a cool title. I'll just write something like that.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened.
They were a great album. I always remember when I first heard In the Heart of the Young, which is probably my favorite of your three early ones. I couldn't believe, like, the first time I played it, because there's no internet or anything, of course, in those days. Very little radio play when I was back
Yeah.
in the UK for that sort of music. So you'd hear it. And they played 17, and we sort of knew that song by then. But then they played, I think, when it first came out, they played Can't Get Enough. And I couldn't even believe that it was the same band. I mean, that's a killer song as well. I've always loved that.
Why couldn't you believe it's same band? It's interesting. I've never
Because
heard.
because the sound is different. There's so much variety on a Winger record that you
That's really interesting. You're right about that. The sound on Can't Get Enough is different, and here's why.
hmm,
Um, the first album was, two guitars, bass, and drums, um, classic rock band setup. But when we did Can't Get Enough, that was heavily influenced by this synth bass thing that was going don't. And the way we mixed it, it did come out different sounding from what we normally do. Um, it's funny that you say that because I often talk about wanting to remix the second record.
yeah.
We all were in favor of remixing the second record, but you know, it didn't work out because for a bunch of reasons that I could complain about, but I won't. Uh, but there's a lot of things about the second record, especially the deep cuts,
Yeah.
that I would like to go back and revisit the mix on those,
Yeah.
which I might.
It's a fantastic record. I
Yeah,
was playing it the other day and I thought, wow. It was my favorite of the early ones, but yeah, I'm still going to stick with seven. Um, One of the questions I've never asked you as well, I don't think we had time last time we spoke, was one we're going to put it up on the radio because we've got to plug the gig. We've got to get people out of Perth. I think everywhere else is doing well, but we're lagging a bit behind. Is the fly on the wall question I ask everyone. If you could have been a fly on the wall, what's the one album you'd like to have been in the studio for, just to see how that magic happened?
oh God. Well, I mean, everybody's got to say Sergeant Pepper's, right? I mean, but
Yeah.
so we'll just say that everybody says that, and then the second one would be that's a really interesting question. Um,
Because it's not necessarily your favorite album, it's just the one that just intrigues you. You feel, how the hell did they do that? Because
well, I'm out.
I imagine a lot of musicians listen to the Winger catalog and think, how the hell are they doing that? Because
You know what? You know what, dude? I would love to do a Zoom call with 20 or 50 or 10 or 5 or whoever musicians to ask me those questions because I love answering those kind of questions. Um, but I was always really intrigued on how U2 records got made because they're so organic yet they're so finished. Um, and them and Peter Gabriel. Probably if I had to pick one album that I would love to have been in the room in would be Security by
oh,
Peter Gabriel.
okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, even some of his early stuff like intrigued me. Like, I think it was three, Peter Gabriel three, the one with that fantastic cover. Just some of the sounds he gets out of
He
his.
was so he was so far ahead of all of us. It was just insane the influence that he had on everybody. Incredible. I mean, there's two people that I haven't met, Peter Gabriel and Paul McCartney. I mean, I'm just waiting that maybe one day I'll be able to shake their hand. That's I'm a total fanboy, but really more just out of musical respect.
Yeah, look, absolutely great artist and still making music. uh,
Oh yeah,
today.
absolutely.
Fantastic. So, you've got a great band supporting you, Shotgun Mistress, lovely, fantastic hard rock from a local band. I think they're doing a whole tour with you as well. Um,
Yeah, they sound great. Yeah,
well,
when I first heard them, I was like, absolutely, yeah.
yeah, we'll talk about the Nashville Symphony in a bit because I do want to get a bit of that in there as
Sure.
well. But before we do that, let's. I had a couple of questions from people who wrote in. One of the, and I only remembered this album because of them writing in a question, but they mentioned the Mob from 2005 with you, Reb, and Doug, and just said obviously nothing's ever going to happen with that again, or are there
No,
any?
that was Reb put that album together. Frontiers asked Reb to do a record and who he would want as a singer, and we've all been big King's X fans forever. And so Reb wanted to write it with Doug Pinnick, do it with Doug Pinnick, and they tried to get it together, and they wrote some stuff, but they couldn't finish. They just couldn't. I mean, sorry, Reb, but they just couldn't get their shit together. So they called me and asked me if I'd step in and like finish producing it. And it was a perfect time for me because I was I needed the bread, to be honest with you, at the time, and I was in between projects, and it was really interesting because Reb and I like we're known as like the team, right? But in this case, I took a complete producer role. I didn't write anything in there. It was all his ideas, 90% his ideas. And then we brought Doug Pinnick in to, you know, well, to, kind of write words over what Reb had done. And that was really interesting dynamic. I think I did play bass on it, but we brought in Timothy Drury to play keyboards, and I can't remember who played drums on there. Do you remember who played drums?
No, I don't. I can't remember. I remember Timothy was definitely in there, but yeah, I'll add
Let
that.
me let me Google it. The Mob.
The Mob, 2005, I think it was. Around about then, anyway.
Um, Timothy Drury, Kelly Keegy from Night
Kelly, of
Ranger.
course. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense because Kelly was living in Nashville, and Kelly actually was the one. God bless Kelly, man, because we gave him the tracks, and he just knocked that stuff out at his own studio. Gave us a couple different track choices. I mean, he was really on top of it. Really super pro. Did an incredible job and really elevated the project. And then Doug, who's just Doug's Doug. I mean, everyone loves Doug's. But what I found interesting, Doug did not play bass on that because he's a bass player, right? He just sang it,
Yeah, wow.
and that was really great for me to be in the studio with him because I was a huge fan. But at the time when we were recording it, um, he'd lose his voice really quickly, and so I'd be like, now I don't think this is the case all the time. He might have been sick or something, but I'd be like, okay, roll them, and I'd just record. Okay, do it again, boom, and then that'd be it for the day. So I'd have to edit and get as much as I could in the first few takes. Um, but that there was some really great music on that record, I thought.
Yeah, yeah. I had a quick listen today after I got the question in and thought, yeah, this is worth another spin, definitely. Are there any side projects over the years that you'd love to have done but just didn't have the time doing something else?
Well, I was the first singer for Alan Parsons' live project in America, and I did that for about a year and a half, and time uh, scheduling conflicts didn't work out for me. In retrospect, I wish I had stayed in that because it was those songs were so much fun to sing, and he's such a great dude. Um, it doesn't really qualify as quote side project, but I mean, I would have liked to have stayed in that because the hang was great.
Yeah.
Um, there's been a few projects that have gone by that I wish I had been a part of. The second Hollywood Vampires record,
Oh, cool.
I was bummed. I was bummed they never called me to be the bass player in that band because I'm the perfect guy. I mean,
Mm.
I was in Alice. I sing and play bass. I played on two of those records though, but I would have loved to have been in the band. That would have been great.
That would be cool.
There's there's very few bands I would join to do a little stint like that, and that would be one of them.
Yeah. Great, great to see them live. Um, yeah, I guess one of the other questions we got was round, trying to find it now down here. I'll have to edit this bit out while I frantically look for the question. Um, no, it's no good. Can't find it. I'm gonna have to move on.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry
Take
about
your.
that. We've got a few more minutes, have we?
Yeah, we do. Any more audience questions or?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the other one now. It was about another compilation. Uh, no, can't find where I wrote it down. Um, no, I'm going to have to move on to my question, sadly. Is billed as a farewell tour for Winger. What does that mean? Is it a Kiss farewell tour or is it a real farewell tour? What do we do?
That's hysterical. I mean, we'll never be in Australia again, especially with original members.
Yeah,
But I'm ending my touring days because uh, I say this often to many people. Interruption is the death of creativity, and when you spend 6 months of the year in an airport, just you know, getting nothing done, and it's just touring is fine. You have to travel on each side of the gig. Like if you've got 40 gigs, you've got 80 travel days, you know. And for me, I'm just so replete with musical ideas, especially orchestral ideas. I want to spend those days composing, because if I added up all the travel days that I've had, I would have hours upon hours upon hours of more published music, you know. And I just feel like I want to leave that behind.
yeah,
And I'm so inspired in the orchestral world because it's like imagining you're a painter, right? And all of a sudden, you know, somebody hands you 60 other colors that you haven't been able to use. It's like, oh my God. And I've been diligently studying my way through this for the last 20 years, and now I can actually paint a picture with an orchestra of what I'm hearing. It's really thrilling. So I'm very excited to have a lot more time to do that.
yeah. And that's
And
that's what it's about, isn't it? I mean, if that's the passion, it needs the time. It's
well,
not
that's
something.
this is the thing. I'm the kind of artist that has a lot of trouble repeating myself.
Hmm.
I want to move on to these bigger projects. And I love my band. We get along great. We've never had a fight. It's an honor to be with them, and it's great. But I've said everything I can say in that configuration. And you know, imagine imagine you're in a Broadway show for 40 years. You know, that's different because that's a set script, and our shows are different every single night. But um, for an artist like myself, I mean, I need to keep churning out new stuff.
Yeah,
And I just haven't had the time to do it. So I'm really like, okay, before I can't sing anymore, you know, because some nights are iffy, you know, um, I'm gonna give this one, final go, and then, thank our audiences, and then move on to the next thing, man.
yeah. I mean, it's great to hear. We had we've had so much. I mean, you did obviously did Ghosts. You did the Conversations with Nijinsky. There was a
Yeah,
soundtrack for Get Jack,
yeah,
and then the ballets, and now the new violin concerto, which premieres in May.
yeah.
How much time and effort and how many years has that taken to get to the stuff?
Thanks for asking. The violin concerto has taken more time than any other piece I've written, and it's probably the best, some of the best music I've ever done. I started it 5 years ago, and I got interrupted with the symphony that I wrote for them, and then Winger 7.
Yeah.
I wrote all that stuff in between, but I've been working on it all this time, and I finally finished it and delivered it. So, and they recorded my symphony in 23, so they will be making an album of my first symphony and my violin concerto that'll be on Naxos Records probably later this year or early next year.
That's fantastic to hear. And long may it continue. It sounds like you've found something that's going to take you through the next stage of life and make you truly
Oh
happy.
yeah, yeah. I often tell people like I exercise every day. I'm very keen on my diet. I'm taking supplements because I got to live to be 100 so I can
All
get
there.
all this. Yeah, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk to us today, Kip.
Yeah, nice.
Can't wait to
Hopefully
hear
I'll
what
see you
you
at the
with.
show.
Yes, and just one thing before you go, we always end with this question. What is the meaning of life?
To grow your spirit.
I think that's right. Yeah. And sounds like that's what you're doing, which is
Yeah, I'm
wonderful.
trying.
Well, let's see you for one last hurrah. Let's get all of Perth out there and all the rest of Australia as well with these shows, and let's see how we can do. Thank you so much. Take care, my friend. Safe trip over.
Have a good one.